Welcome to another conversation.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
We're in the middle of summer.
Middle of summer. I don't like summer. It gets too hot or too cold, believe it or not.
Yeah. It's been absolutely disgusting lately.
So today's topic is kind of unique in my mind because it's not something that we hear a lot. This came about based on a conversation with one of our other coach.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he doesn't like feature flag. And
Interesting.
Like, wow.
Yeah, I would always think it's the opposite. I thought feature flagging was like the new big thing, and that's big.
So I asked him why. Why is it that you don't like feature flagging? And he's like, feature flag enable us to be more waterfall.
Okay.
I said, I didn't think about it that way. So I think maybe that's for the group that's watching this, maybe let's define what is feature flag.
Okay. You want me to take a stab at it?
Take a stab at it.
Okay, so the way I look at feature flagging, I'm kind of borrowing a lot of what you see in Spotify, and I know probably it's been around since before Spotify, but they're the ones that have brought it to the forefront, is you engineer a certain feature, but you don't want to initially roll it out. So you've completed it, it's almost all done, or completely done, or a portion of it is done, but you don't want to make it visible or usable to anyone on the market just yet. That's kind of the way I look at it. So you flag it so it's not there. It's not. You can't access it.
And you mentioned that this is not something that's new. In the old days when I was writing code, it is just a regular flag. It's a Boolean flag on and off.
Yep.
It's called a toggle.
Yep.
Feature toggling is one of those things that we've used before. So there's different ways of putting in play a feature flag.
Yep.
Right. So you can do it in code where really simple. If the flag was turned on, then run this piece of code. If not, then skip it. For example, all the way to maybe it's on the UI piece. For example, if the flag says X, then show this feature.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of those go into play, and as it comes into more of a use now, so we've seen it to the way where people are using it as a partially deploying stuff, releasing stuff to certain clients.
Right.
The Canary release model that they have.
Yeah, that's like an advanced way to use like a potential
features and things like that, right? So and I did look into some of this and kind of find out, well, how do people use it? So one of the things that I think the coach that brought this topic up, when he said that, it's like, well, how can it be waterfall? And in his mind, that because we're not releasing the feature, we're holding on to feature.
Right.
And only releasing a collective of it. Therefore, it enables the business to be very waterfally. Right?
Okay.
So, for example, sales is going to say, hey, I need 10 features, and I'm not going to sell until you give me 10 features.
I gotcha.
So I want to lock it down, feature flag it.
Yeah.
And then enable it only when 10 is available. So it could be a packaging, a marketing thing. It could be one of those campaign.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I can see that. I can see why. So that gives me a thought that feature flag, it depends, I think, right? I mean, it depends on how you use it.
I think that, so let's try to tackle this, because this is actually a really good challenge. In the case that you brought up, let's say that you're working with your sales team and they've got these 10 features and they're like, well, we don't want these to turn on until you deliver all 10. So the question I have is, does each one of those individual features if you were to release them on their own without this package of 10, would they provide some sort of value to the client or customer?
Right. And we got into the conversation where, okay, let's look at that.
Yeah.
That's a great example. So an example is I'm going to create a form, for example, I don't know, a simple form, data entry form.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, so we want to be able to add, edit, delete.
Yes.
Right? And then at the end of it, we want to do a reporting off of it.
Yes.
So those four things. Take an example. Would you release the ability to do add and not edit separately? Because imagine this: you're writing through code and you're writing each of those features separately, right? Could you
Correct.
do add, edit, delete? Would you do it that way? Would you split your story that way? Your feature that way?
So this is me personally looking at it, and maybe this is my old developer brain coming in, is actually mixed with some of the value, is if I were to, in 2-week sprint, I only can deliver add and edit.
Right.
I would not want that to go out into the wild.
Okay.
And the reason why is, what happens if I if I release it into the wild, my client starts to use it and they fat finger in whatever information on the form and they can't delete it. At that point, I haven't created value, I've created technical debt.
Okay, so I'll take an example that I'll challenge you on that. I'll say,
okay,
well, that has value because, yes, I cannot delete it, but I can edit it.
You're right.
Now, if you were to say only add, then I can see, yeah, I agree, because if you do add, you fat finger, now I'm done. I can't do anything.
Right. Okay, so yeah, the edit, you can go in there, but right. What if it was like I entered it in and then somebody said, oh yeah, you know what, that deal is no longer a lead. We need to get that out of our system. And it's like, wait, I don't have a way to delete it.
But if it's a continuous release, right? Say if our cycle is releasing every 2 weeks, for example.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, if you're doing continuous delivery every day, then that's awesome.
Yeah.
But if you're not, if you're doing every 2 weeks, right, following a spring, every 2 weeks you're doing that, then would it be okay for 2 weeks for a client to wait on it?
It depends on the tolerance of your client base,
right.
and if you're in a regulated industry. I'm going to take the business school cop out of right. It depends. But me personally, if I were delivering it, I would want to, in that case, I would feature flag, I would push, but I would feature flag that part of the form until I can give them all of the activities that allow them to do what they need to do in that case. Now, the reason why I say that is because add, edit, delete shouldn't take very long. Like, I know that I can deliver that pretty quickly.
And I can see value where we do add and delete as a bundle and then doing reporting as a separate bundle release. I can see that, right? I mean, so for example, we go through this process of doing data entry. Yeah. And there is value for us to start doing data entry up front, but I can wait for 2 weeks to run the report because it takes me time to do data entry.
Yep.
Right. So I can see that value. Some of the arguments that's out there today is, how long do we keep feature flag?
Like keep something turned off or
off or on or have the flag?
I think, well, it really depends. Going back to your example, if you're feature flagging to bundle stuff to release it later, I kind of agree with TJ on that one. I do think that is a very waterfall approach to getting product out there.
Okay.
To keep a feature flag, I mean, I don't know how long you would want to keep it in code, or maybe it is something that you want to flip on and off. I don't know how you would use that.
So, in my mind, it's kind of like a technical debt. As soon as you put a feature flag on there, it's technical debt. You need to remove it.
Okay.
Because once you release it, it's
out.
Gone. It's out there. Why would you want to keep it?
True.
Right? So if you don't clean it up, now you got a lot of flags in there that potential mistake may happen, and it causes the flag to turn on or off when you don't want it to.
That's actually a really good question. That if we do have, I'm actually going to post it out to our audience. If we have engineers that are out there and help us out, because we're former engineers, we haven't done this in a while. But do you delete? Is a feature flag kept in the code, I guess, for its existence, or when the sprint that it's going to be done, or whenever you're going to deliver it, is part of turning it off means it's gone from the code? Or do you keep it in there? I agree with you. If you keep code in there that could potentially be screwed up down the road, that's technical debt. Not good.
For me, delete it.
So you heard it first.
Right. So I see it that way. So because it's challenging, right? So a part of it also is that feature flag, people have used it in terms of, hey, my code isn't complete, so therefore I'm going to feature flag it because I can't, we want to hide this thing because it's not complete.
Yeah.
So it introduces also incomplete code, incomplete things in there, which I don't like at all. And I know sometimes we do need it, right? So it depends on how you use it. So there's some of the things that I know about feature flagging is I kind of tend to agree that there is a good and bad in how you use it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just my personal belief is that it's technical debt. If you have two flags, for example, that's out there. So, if A do this,
right.
What happens if it's A and B got turned on? What's the combination was the permutation that introduced, right? Now, if you got two things, you have 4 different testing scenarios that happens, right? It's A and B, A, B, whatever that is going to be the combination. Now you got 4 different ways of code that could happen.
Yeah.
So to me, if you don't clean it up, it's scary. Because I remember back in the day, we have all these flags that's available, and you can go. It's like a Windows settings, right? You can go open it. I remember, back in my day when I did coding, there's a component wall to system settings. You can on and off stuff.
Yep.
The more you have that's interrelated, then it
starts to get ugly.
It gets ugly
and dangerous. I think that with feature flags, there's multiple ways that organizations and engineering teams use it. I don't want to say that there's a right or a wrong way to do it. I think that the use of them is great if you're trying not to expose your client or customer to stuff that's incomplete or not ready to go. When you use it to, well, I want to hide all these features until this is ready to go. That's when I kind of start questioning. I'm like, well, that's kind of very waterfall. You're waiting until the very end. You've got, going back to your example, I've got 10 complete features. Why can't I get those out there? I mean, if you believe in continuous delivery and you're in the agile mindset and you're using these, why not just get them out there? They're ready to go. They're going to start giving you value. Why wait for that big bang?
Exactly. Why wait for the big bang?
The name of the game is feedback. If we get feedback early, why not? But if we don't have something that's complete and can go from A to B and deliver value, probably not good to put it out there.
And I think one of this is that something that reminded me was conversations with individuals that I've had in the past where they're not agile yet, and we talk about releasing it in bursts, right? Small iterative bursts, and then you get upset. They look at me and say, well, you guys don't have quality in there. That's why I keep pushing code. And it's all this crap that I have to reinstall every time. Like, iPhones, most people have iPhones and you get these updates on your applications, right? And you constantly get every week you need to reinstall. There's a patch available every week.
Pretty much.
Right? Are those
feels like it.
Feature or just bug fixing?
Both.
Right?
Yeah.
So the thought is that if you are giving me a patch, usually means that you're fixing a bug. What then tells me that you don't have a good quality in place for your application. So you have this perception. And I think the market isn't there yet maybe to accept this fast iterative deployment of stuff.
I agree, and that's one of the things that I've seen feedback is in the industry we're all talking about continuous delivery, but I've seen the opposite where voices for the customer saying our customers don't like the continuous, it's not continuous delivery, it's continuous disruption to them.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to look at it. For us, it's great, but you're right. I'm getting an update every week. I'm like, guys, can I have a little bit of stability? So we were talking about, we mentioned that feedback is the name of the game.
Okay.
Spotify introduced, I don't know, I can't say Spotify introduced, but Spotify made popular the idea of this whole canary testing. And I've heard it called canary testing, but they call it something else, which is I've got a feature.
Right.
I want to roll it out, but I don't want to roll it out to all my customers. So, I only want to roll it out to a subset.
So why call it canary? So that's interesting to me. Isn't that beta testing?
It is very much. That's one way to put it. You're beta testing a subset of your client base. I don't know. I mean, the way I look at it is the canary in the mine is that if I release it out to just 500 and it explodes, well, it only died for those 500 and not for my 5,000. I do like the name. It's kind of cool. But I like that way of if you've got a large client base and you don't want to be disruptive.
Right.
But you want to actually test it and get feedback. So if you have a way to feature toggle, to release that feature to maybe your beta crew that they sign up for something, so they give you the feedback.
So the canary effect is basically we are turning on feature for selective clients.
Yes.
We say, hey, we want to test this with X, Y, Z clients, maybe 10 clients, or people that you just talk about signing up for it.
Yeah.
And then if things doesn't go well, we can just turn it off and then fix the problem.
Yeah.
Getting feedback.
Yeah, it's getting the feedback because it's like we're looking at it in the lab and we're like, that's great. But let's get it out into the wild with a good subset of a population and get some statistics on it and see if this thing is actually as viable as it is.
I mean, I do, and definitely I agree. I think I like the use of feature flagging in terms of that, because it allows us to get feedback for a specific feature. We want to see how people react to a change.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember using applications on the web that all of a sudden I see this bar. Hey, there's a beta program. If you click on this, then you're now using this new UI. It needs feedback.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, then you can switch back.
Yep.
And it's up to the user to actually switch back if they don't like it. So that's one way of saying, you know what? We just roll something out. Nobody wants to use it.
Exactly. Nobody's switching over. They hate it, or look at this. We rolled it out to 500, and 400 of them have adopted it, and they're using it, and they haven't switched back. I think it's that whole idea of the canary. The way I like the concept, because if I'm working on a big initiative that's going to bring in revenue, but it's going to cost a lot of money to put in place.
Right.
I can test this thing as I build it. Mm-hmm. And if this thing is the money maker that I expect it to be, and I put it out to my canary population, and they adopt it, that gives me the feedback like, oh, we're on to something. Yeah. Or if nobody adopts it, I can can it right then and there. I'm sales and marketing. I can know, nope, that's not the campaign I want to put out there. And we didn't have to build it or roll it out to all of my customers. I could just do it to a subset. There's different ways to use it.
So tying back to the question up front is the feature flagging good or bad? I am of the opinion that feature flagging is actually good. There is a potential, there is a risk of misuse.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, just like everything else.
Agreed.
Right? I mean, you could be running Scrum and you could misuse your daily stand-up. So it doesn't mean that you stop using it. I think it's education. I think there's selective use in my mind, and depending on tools that you have, making sure you use it for the right purpose.
Yep. Again, get to ask yourself if you want to get into doing feature flagging, or if you want to experiment with it, is why do we want to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on that answer is like, are we using it for the right reason?
Okay. This is, I think, is probably our shortest topic.
I think so.
I feel like we don't have a lot to go on other than a couple things.
We're coming at it from a different perspective. I know engineers out there have a different view, so I'm hoping that this one strikes a chord and, people start giving feedback or get upset or, tell us like we're full of crap.
Tell us. It's like, hey, you guys are full of shit. You have no idea what you're talking about. Right? Tell us that. Really, tell us that. We want some feedback here. Again, love to hear from you guys. Other than that,
you're on vacation next week.
I'm on vacation next week. I was hoping to rope this guy in to do another topic, but I actually don't have a topic. So I think we'll just drop it for this time around, and when we come back in the following week.
This summer vacations are great. Take them.
For me, if you are subscribing, if you have subscribed to my YouTube channel, what would you be expecting from me will be, it's not just are we doing this conversation series. I do have some stuff that I do for fun. I'll probably do some on my vacations, taking a trip to the zoo, and then going to not Myrtle Beach, I'm sorry, but going to Great Wolf Lodge. It's my first time in Great Wolf Lodge, and I'm hoping to get some footage of what it is.
I'm looking forward to the commentary.
All right, that's it, folks. This is Master Asian Core.
C-Rod.
Bye.
Till the next time.